Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name's Steve Anderson. I am your humble host. YouTubers will notice a different background than normal. That's because I've been doing a little traveling. But fear not, we did attach a Walther sign to the wall. So we have the official sponsor logo is present and accounted for, so have no fear there. Want to let you know right off the bat, we did just add a class. Hang on a second. We just added a class kind of last minute, February the 10th and the 11th at the RPGI Farm in Gaskin, Florida. So that's the RPGI Farm in Gaskin, Florida, February the 10th and the 11th. That just got added last week. You can go to andersonshooting.com, click on upcoming classes, and that is where you will find it. It's awesome. Oh, got to do one thing here before I forget. Let's see here. There we go. All right. So, speaking of sponsors, the Walther Firearms is the proud title sponsor of the podcast and of AndersonShooting.com. Thanks a lot, Walther. Targets USA, as you know, manufactures the finest steel targetry on the planet. CR Speed makes the finest gun handling gadgetry you can wrap around your waist or anywhere else for that matter. Let's see, Hunter's HD Gold is the only eyewear that I wear, and I are wearing it right now. The AMG-Lab.com Commanderson timer continues to turn heads and blow minds by putting the time into the tablet. It does a lot of other cool tricks, but that's its best trick. And if picking up hammer noise is important to you in dry fire, it can also do that. Let's see, that brings us to OutdoorDynamics.net, who is remanufacturing the finest competition ammunition you can dispense from a Freedom Seed dispenser. And of course, Shooting Sports Innovations is a lot to type because there's a lot to see when you get there. All right, so mental management opportunities can also be found at AndersonShooting.com upcoming classes. I'll be adding some to that very shortly. And if you have a request for a mental management time slot that you're not seeing, just let me know. We'll do our best to accommodate that. All right, so this is one of those shows that I feel like I have done before. And every time I say that, people say, we don't care if you've done it before. We want to hear it again. But I tried to put a new spin on it. We've been doing a lot of mental management online lately, and I have gotten all this stuff to a place of sheer simplicity that I want to share with you. And in fact, just today, I had an insider meeting with my buddy Tan from Thailand. And this young man is just on fire. He is absolutely on fire. And if you know Tan from Thailand, say, hey, Tan, you're on fire. He knows it and everybody else knows it. He's one of a handful of people that are doing everything that we recommend. Okay, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've got a couple things figured out by now. Oh, and by the way, if you want to do a class in your area, that's also just let me know. Say, hey, come do a class. We can do all kinds of stuff. If you want to focus on match performance, bring me to your town when there's a match going on. If you want more technical stuff, say, hey, we don't care about this match stuff. We want technique. Fine. Well, I won't let you do that. But I'll act like it for a short period of time. And then, of course, mental management on site. We're doing a really cool mental management class with a bunch of silhouette shooters. These guys, they shoot steel silhouettes at various differences with relatively primitive guns. Maybe they're not all relatively primitive. In my mind, they're relatively primitive guns. And well, for sure in the world of guns they are. But we're doing mental management for them. Because, as we're going to talk about a lot today, competing is a separate skill from shooting. And the sooner you understand that, and the sooner you learn to practice competing, the better off you're going to be. Shooting matches have... this is going to get misinterpreted, but it's okay. We got plenty of time. They have very little to do Okay, so let's just back that up so it doesn't get misinterpreted. Within similar skill regions, okay, like if you look at the super squad, or if you look at C class or B class or whatever you want to look at, inside of those groups of measurable skill, the skills themselves are not that important. Obviously, a C class shooter doesn't have the skill to beat a grandmaster, but you take 10 grandmasters or 10 B class shooters, the best competitor is the one who is going to win. So if you want to win your division, your class, or the whole thing, you've got to learn to be a better competitor, because that is who will win. Everybody listening to this program has been beaten by an inferior shooter. It's maddening. Everybody on this program has occasionally beat shooters who are better than them. That's because in those environments, the best competitor was the winner, not necessarily the best shooter. I can think of, we're not going to name any names, but I can think of so many household name shooters who are vastly better shooters than they are competitors. And they struggle with consistency. And they probably can't figure out why. I know exactly why, and we're going to talk about that a bunch. All right, so I have to use my phone here because I don't have a printer where I'm currently at, and that's not a big problem because I've got it right here. Number one, you've got to separate training from competition. You've got to. If you haven't learned how to do that, let me help you how to do that. Okay? This is the heart of match mode. It's also the heart of the 3 modes of practice, which we're going to talk about ad nauseum, whatever that means, here in a minute. Okay? Competing is its own skill. And if you are not practicing that, you will never get full access to your shooting skills. And ironically, in many cases, in a very specific environment, you can actually train more and shoot worse. And that is the most frustrating place to be in the entire shooting sports. Okay? We'll talk about why that happens here in just a minute. Okay, so how we're going to separate this is very simple. Okay? Training is always going to require the conscious mind to evaluate options and make decisions. Okay? Conscious mind is extremely good at that. Hey, let's evaluate options and let's make decisions. This is great in training. This is how we get better, by evaluating options and making decisions. Hey, I'm doing this thing over here. I think I can do something faster if I do this thing over here. Well, the conscious mind is great at that. And it loves to do it, by the way. It's its favorite thing. It's what it's there for. Okay? So this is good and necessary in training. This is not good or necessary when you're actually competing. And this is one of the biggest mistakes in the sport, is people are actively using their conscious minds to shoot stages. Now, they will occasionally luck into a performance that is more subconscious, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to get there virtually every single time. Okay, if you're an overthinker, this is you. We have some other examples of that here very shortly, so let's continue. Here's the other mistake people are making. Okay, and this is what happens anytime you're training more and shooting worse at matches. This is what's happening. Okay? Every time you repeat a shooting task, you move that activity from the conscious mind, where it requires thought, to the subconscious mind, where it does not. Most people understand this on some level. Okay? I don't know if they fully understand it, but I think on some level they know, okay, I'm thinking about this. I don't need to think. The best example is driving a manual transmission car. Okay? In the beginning, boy, that's a 100% conscious skill. You got to think about all that stuff. But after some time passes, you don't need to think about it at all. And the only way to screw it up is by thinking about it, which is precisely what we do in high-pressure situations. Okay? So, what they don't know So even if people understand that transfer on some level, what they don't know is that every repetition of that task is sending an opinion about your ability to do it. Okay? It's sending that opinion to your self-image. Okay? We'll go back to driving a manual transmission. Okay? If you're being coached by somebody who is impatient and critical, you are not going into traffic anytime soon. You'll be scared to death. And if you do, you won't do it very well. But if you're coached by somebody who is patient and encouraging, you'll be in traffic a lot sooner because your opinion of those skills will be higher. This is literally where confidence comes from. Your opinion of your skills primarily happens in training. And if we're training more with a negative opinion about our skills, this isn't helping. I'm too slow. I'm too sloppy. That is programming the guy, the shooter, that goes to the match. The guy who's never good enough, who's never fast enough, he's always too slow, he's never accurate enough. That is literally the guy, the shooter, that goes to the match. And that's why these opinions in training are so important. This is self-image. Okay? So if somebody says, call him back. Let me just send him a quick message so he doesn't. Sorry about that. Oh boy. Doing podcast, can call after. Arik Levy is just screaming. He's screaming at his radio right now. You broke the number one rule is to mute your phone. Well, at least there's not going to be any dog noise, right? Some of you will let me know that you missed the dog noise for a little while. It is what it is. We'll get back to dog noise as soon as we can. So if somebody is in their own head, that means they're thinking about skills that could or should or are be subconscious. If you get to a stage that has a close first target and you start really thinking about that draw, you're probably going to screw it up. But if you just get the gun out of the holster and fire it as soon as you see an acceptable sight picture, you'll get whatever draw you developed in training, according to your confidence in it. Okay? Very important stuff. And very simple stuff. Okay? Everybody knows somebody or has been somebody who's not good at classifiers. Boy, I don't know what happens. I get to the classifier and I screw the pooch every single time. Well, what's happening is you're thinking about skills that need to be subconscious. And if you're over trying, you are automatically engaging the conscious mind. Automatically. That's what over-trying is. You're using the conscious mind to micromanage processes that should be subconscious. Okay? We're having some electrical issues in the place I'm staying right now, which, by the way, doesn't coincide very well with watching haunted house programs. If you're in a building with electrical issues, do not watch haunted house shows. Okay? It's just simple as that. If somebody believes they're not good at classifiers, this will not allow access to subconscious skill because confidence is the only thing that allows access to subconscious skill. And I'll prove it to you. Okay. Audience is probably mostly male, a high percentage male, and the females can get something out of this too. When you were younger and you were attempting to talk to a girl of the when you were younger, gentlemen, and you were trying to talk to a girl that you knew or believed was out of your league, you probably couldn't form a complete sentence. You speak English all day long, not a problem. But you try to talk to the super mega hottie with the Jordache jeans and they're spray painted on and the white Reebok high tops, you lose your ability to speak the English language. Because your confidence is not allowing access to subconscious skill. Okay, that's the best example. All right? So, you've got, and we'll probably have another point on this. You've got to care for your confidence while you're creating subconscious skill. That's all there is to it. Okay. Well, you're telling me just tell myself I'm great. Nope, I'm not doing that. I'm telling you to. It's either haunted or there's electrical issues. Don't really know. Okay, or maybe both. So, stage plan is also subject to this process. And here's how this works. As you're moving your stage plan from the conscious mind, where you're making decisions and you're evaluating options, you're moving that stage plan to the subconscious mind. Okay? Don't know if people know this or not. I'm going to try to explain it as well as I possibly can. Okay? So, your opinion about that stage plan and your ability to execute it will determine how it goes. And you guys know this is true. You haven't understood it this way. Okay? Everybody would agree when I know the stage inside and out and I believe I can do it well, those are our best performances. If I don't know the stage inside and out, or I don't believe I can do it well, that's going to be a problem. Well, some stages are hard. Well, they're hard for everybody. Now, the interesting thing about these opinions is that the last one is a fact in the short term. What do you mean by that? Well, so let's say I've been walking a stage for 10 minutes. The IPSC guys will complain. Every time I work with IPSC shooters, they say, "Oh, we don't get a 37 minute walkthrough like you guys do." Well, so that's fine. So let's say you've been walking the stage for 3 minutes, okay, and you feel really good about it. Man, I can ace this thing. I know exactly how to do this. This is great. 3 minutes, okay. You see the shooter in front of you have a significant problem with the stage. Your last opinion is, ooh, uh-oh. And that feeling is a fact for some period of time. This will forever be known as the haunted room episode. There was an electrician here earlier. Timing is very weird. And the other way works the same way. So let's say you're really worried about a stage. The opinions have not been good during the stage walking process. But at the last minute, somebody says, "Hey, just shoot the targets." And you're like, "Okay, let's just shoot the targets." Okay? All of the worrying that you did prior to that last opinion, "Hey, I can do this," will not matter for a short period of time. Okay? And the period of time in which the last opinion is a fact depends on the severity of the old opinion and the new opinion, by the way. For example, if you've been worried about the stage and some guy goes, "Oh, it's no big deal," well, that's not going to be a fact in the short term. But if you've been worried about the stage and you sincerely change that opinion for a short period of time, whatever that opinion was, will allow better performance. Okay, if it's a positive opinion. Okay. All right, and there probably aren't many naysayers left at this point, but if there are, let's go ahead and address them in the famous naysayer voice. "Oh, you're just telling me to blow unicorn sunshine all over the place." Unicorn rainbow sunshine all over the place. Well, maybe, or maybe not. What I am telling you is that your opinion of your skill and your opinion of your stage plan will determine how that goes. Okay? It's just as simple as that. And you guys know this is true. If you look back at your best performances, you weren't thinking very much and you weren't worried about the results, or you believed you were going to do well. Okay? So, that's the whole plan here. Let's see. Yeah, I even wrote it down. I wasn't thinking, didn't care. Well, try that at the World Shoot. Go to the World Shoot and try not thinking and not caring. That ain't going to work. You'll be thinking about something, and you'll be caring about something. So what we do in mental management is we change what you think about, and we change what you care about. Okay? All right. Oh, and so what that sentence really means is if we take I wasn't thinking and I didn't care, what that really means is I shot subconsciously and I wasn't worried about the results. So let's make that the goal. If we can't recreate not thinking and not caring, we can recreate shot subconsciously and wasn't worried about the results. Boy, managing the electricity here is challenging. Now, here's the other interesting thing. You won't remember much about a great performance unless something unusual happened. If you had to clear a malfunction, you might remember that or you might not. If you slip and fall, you'll for sure remember that. Okay? But you won't remember, you probably won't remember the best reload of your life if it happened at a match. That's because we don't remember things that we do subconsciously. Okay? You don't remember breathing 4 breaths ago. But hold your breath for 30 seconds, boy, you'll remember that because that takes conscious effort. Okay? So people talk about the zone. Oh, I was just in the zone that day. Well, the zone occurs in a completely subconscious performance, which is not duplicable. Okay? You will never be able to duplicate zero conscious thought on a regular basis. The good news is you don't have to. Okay? Lanny, when I got certified to teach mental management, Lanny Basham and I got into an argument about the zone. So here I am. I paid Lanny a big old suitcase full of money to get certified, and we're now arguing about the zone. He said, the problem with the zone is you can't get there on demand. And I said, I know how to do it. And he listened very patiently, and he said, that's not the zone. Okay? Match mode is not the zone. The zone is a 100% subconscious performance with zero conscious thought. Okay? That will not be duplicable on demand. And I believe it's more likely to happen in a reactive sport, such as tennis or basketball, than a proactive sport, such as shooting. Okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. Mental management provides a zone-like performance on demand with a high repeatability. Boy, that sounds pretty good. And getting into whether what we can do is better than the zone, man, they're very, very close in terms of actual performance, right? Virtually indistinguishable, okay? But what they have in common is a low amount of conscious thought. That's what they have in common, okay? Okay, let's see where we are here. All right. Now, training can be very, very simple. The training world is full of people who have named things, and I suppose I've done some of that myself. People like to ascribe terms to things, primarily because every instructor needs something to sell. I mean, I'm no different. But if the instructor you're listening to has a lot of labels for things, I don't know that that's necessary. Now, some people respond to that. I would rather things be simple, okay? So let's make them simple. Number one, there's 3 modes of practice, and you guys have heard these before. Accuracy mode simply means the target is more important than the timer. That's how we're going to define success. We're going to define on the target. And you will spend some amount of time doing that. That's why group shooting is so great. There is no timer in group shooting. That's the pinnacle of accuracy mode. Okay? Speed mode simply means that the timer is now more important than the target. And people struggle with this. First time I went to South Africa, they hated speed mode. I'm not going to be able to get an accent on demand, but I'll try. What good is speed if delta? Okay, well, do you want to get faster? Perfect. I'm glad we got that out of the way. It's going to be messy from an accuracy standpoint while you're learning to get faster. That's just all there is to it. It doesn't necessarily mean the target's not important at all, although sometimes that's the case. All it really means is that for this period of time, this thing that we're working on, the timer is more important than the target. And when I first identified these 3 modes of practice, I hadn't at that time been certified to teach mental management, and I didn't even realize it. But what you're doing is you're protecting your opinion of your skills while different things are important. And I didn't know that at the time. Maybe I did instinctively. I didn't understand it the way I understand it now, that's for sure. Doesn't mean it wasn't still working, by the way. If I let the timer define success, it's quicker and easier to achieve success. Ergo, greater confidence. But let's say I do something fast and I'm not happy with the target. Well, what was I trying to do? Well, you got to do both. That is the heart of the problem. There's only one environment where you can improve speed and accuracy at the same time. You're not really improving them in this environment. You're just getting access to them. And that is when you're calling your shots. When you are truly calling your shots, you are getting the pinnacle of speed and accuracy that you are currently capable of. It may look like an improvement, depending on something else, but it's not really an improvement. It's just getting access to the skills that are already there, okay? All right, so let's see. So there's your 3 modes of practice. Accuracy mode, where the target's more important than the timer. Speed mode, where the timer's more important than the target. And then match mode, where we're shooting for score as subconsciously as possible. We're shooting for score with a minimum of conscious thought. How do we do that? We do that by giving the conscious mind something to do besides micromanage the stage. There's probably, I have to sit and think about it, but there's hundreds of events. You take a 22-round field course, there's hundreds of events. Your conscious mind can only manage those events one at a time. If you've ever had a choppy stage, it's most likely because the conscious mind was trying to micromanage all these things. It can never do more than one at a time. It can do so very quickly, but never more than one at a time. Okay? All right, so let's see. And most shooters spend 0 time practicing competing, and they wonder why they're not very good at it. So if you're somebody who is competing below your perceived skill level, man, I can absolutely help you. We did mental management with a group of Marines a few days ago, and these gentlemen are very, very good shooters. A handful of USPSA guys, a couple of 3-gunners, very good shooters, suffering from inconsistency. Oh, consistency. I had a good day and I had a bad day. Yesterday was my bad day. Today's going to be my good day. Well, they had no idea that confidence was why they were inconsistent. See, the military, as I understand it, thrives on a culture of negative reinforcement. Okay? That can be good in a team environment where the team is the more important than the individual. Negative reinforcement can be helpful there. In a proactive sport, the negative reinforcement, if there's no team to save, the negative reinforcement is a much bigger problem. Okay? If a guy doesn't believe he's a very good soldier, that's one thing, but he'll die before he lets down his team. But if he doesn't believe he's a very good soldier and there's no team, he may struggle more. Okay, I haven't studied that enough to know for sure. That's just my opinion. Don't want to get too sidetracked there. But in the military and perhaps in law enforcement and in some cultures, the negative reinforcement damages confidence. And if negative reinforcement improves confidence somehow, I'd have to think about that for a minute. It is possible. Then it's not a problem. The only thing that matters is the individual's opinion of their skills. The individual's opinion of their skills will determine how much subconscious skill we get. That's just all there is to it. Okay, so that covers the simplicity of competing. Okay, and I just want to remind you that the best competitor will always win when the shooting levels are similar, when the shooting skills are similar. The best competitor is always going to win. Okay, and you guys know this. So, what do we do in training? Let's say we've unlocked subconscious performance through mental management. What do we do in training? Okay, if we're talking IPSC, USPSA, I don't know how to explain this the same way in IDPA. The concept is the same. It's just not as easy to explain. The enemy of a high hit factor, IPSC, USPSA, is the time spent not shooting. That's what lowers hit factor. Hit factor is points scored per second. So if a second goes by and you haven't scored any points, that's a 0 hit factor. So what we need to do in training is reduce the time spent not shooting. That's all we're trying to do. And the biggest numbers are the most important. Periods of movement when you're not shooting destroys hit factor. Transitions, time between targets. That's the sneaky one that people don't know about, by the way, is time between targets. Well, it's always time between targets, but specifically 2 shots here, 2 shots over there. You're scoring 0 points while you're moving the gun from this target to that target. Okay? I can show you how to do that much quicker. And then, of course, shooting while moving. And then somebody always, we'll get to that in a minute. So movement is very, very simple. Your job is to use your human body to transport the gun to where it can see the next target. Yes, there's things you need to do with your feet, and there's ways to do that. But if you'll let movement be as simple as, hey, my gun is currently here shooting this thing. I need to transport it over here so it can shoot this thing in the most efficient way possible, movement gets a whole lot simpler. I mean, it gets really, really simple. Let's see, what's next? Okay, movement's very simple. Oh, and simply provide enough stability to make the shot. Okay, so your body needs to move the gun from where it can see this target to where it can see the next target. And it needs to do that with enough stability to make the shot when you're done. That's why trying to get to 100% speed in a short period of time is not super helpful, because you lose stability. Once I've got my body to 100% speed, it's not stable enough to fire the shot. Well, it takes me time to make the body stable enough to fire the shot. And how long that takes may offset the blinding speed by which I got there. Okay, good. So, transitions are also very simple. Oh, by the way, this is what we show you guys on the range in the classes. We show you all of this stuff. Okay? When should you shoot while moving? That probably the most common question that I get. When do I post up and when do I stay moving? And I say, I don't know. There is an answer to that question. Let's see if I got it right. I think I did. You should shoot while moving as often as you can make the required shot without stopping. There's the answer. I finally answered it for you. You should shoot while moving as often as you can make the required shot without stopping. That's how often you should do it. And the creep is simply pausing the movement instead of stopping the movement. Okay, Christian Seiler is so good at the creep. Gaz Evans is so good at the creep. Morgan Leonhardt is so good at the creep. And she's my favorite one to watch because she does it in a way that makes it easy to see. Okay, Christian Seiler's can be a little tougher to see, but Morgan's is so obvious, right? We don't need to get a full, perfect formal setup. We just need enough stability to make this shot, whatever it is. Okay, if you think about going from a full sprint to a 50-yard popper, that requires a lot of stability. But if you think about going from a full sprint to a 3-yard open target, that doesn't require much stability. Okay, pausing enough to generate the stability required to make the shot. Okay, and we show you all this stuff. And grip We're not going to go down the grip rabbit hole. All I'm going to tell you, though, is grip simply allows you to operate the trigger faster and more aggressively and helps you return to the acceptable sight picture. That's why everybody is so obsessed with grip. Well, somebody is allowing them to think that if they get a perfect grip, they can rip doubles all day long without a second sight picture. Comment, no comment. I'll comment. Yes, to a certain distance, absolutely. Could that distance be extended? Sure. But in the list of things that kill hit factor, splits is the very last one. And it's also the highest risk one. If you're going to reduce your splits from 15 to 20, from 25 to 15, okay. It ain't going to be worth a delta or a mic or a no-shoot. I can promise you that. But boy, you learn to blend positions better. You learn to call those shots. You learn to transition quicker and move smoother and stay moving more. Man, that'll do wonders for your hit factor. All right, let's see where we're at here. Oh, and everything except splits can be practiced very effectively in dry fire. And splits in dry fire is the only thing you don't get to keep. What does that mean? That means if I'm dry firing the El Pres and I'm busting 15 splits, 0.15, which is fine in dry fire because I'm seeing what I need to see. Okay? I'm not going to get to keep those 15 splits when I move to live fire. And that's okay. This is why dry fire times and live fire times are different. You don't get to keep the splits. And I've never been an advocate of simulating recoil or artificially slowing down splits or anything like that because we are seeing what we need to see. If the gun is not recoiling, we are seeing what we need to see. And as long as we have the ability to do that when we load the gun, there's no problem. Okay? All right. And that's mental, of course. And I just want to remind you that your opinion of your training, I hesitate to say is more important because words mean things. I like to get them right. Your opinion of your training is as important and maybe more important in some cases than your actual training. You've got to see every skill as greater improving. Okay? And when you're really working on something, you're not going to shoot very well by a normal definition. Okay? This is speed mode. If I'm really interested in getting you from point A to point B, I don't really care how you shoot while that's happening. Well, are you just teaching me to shoot sloppy? Nope, I'm not. I'm teaching you to move from point A to point B more efficiently, more effectively, faster, without letting the target damage your confidence of this new skill while it's so fresh. See, the newer the skill is, the more important this opinion is, because there's very few opinions. Right? Wow, I just did that in 5 seconds, as opposed to I may have done that a little faster, but the accuracy is poor. Okay? Most of you, well, I don't know about most of you, but many of you haven't been around long enough to have ever heard somebody say it takes 10 years and 1,000,000 rounds to make master. It doesn't. They thought that, they said that, they believed that because they were constantly measuring speed and accuracy at the same time. So that every speed gain got negated by an accuracy loss. And every accuracy gain was negated by a speed loss. So we're never happy. The irony of these shooting sports is if you're looking for something to complain about, you can always find something. Fast but sloppy, slow but accurate. Those opinions, remember, determine the shooter that goes to the match. Okay, let's see where we're at. We're almost done. So it's really important that you control your opinion of the skill while it's being developed. So when you're trying something new in training, you are using the conscious mind. You are not going to shoot very well by a normal definition while that is happening. primarily you'll see accuracy suffer, which is fine. If you know that, it's fine. Okay. But let's say that you work on some whiz-bang new movement technique and you think it's working okay, but the accuracy is poor, and you go to the match. Ooh, my movement technique produced poor accuracy. Oh, which reminds me, if we know that we don't shoot very well by normal definition while we're working on our footwork, if we know that, okay, let's just take that a step further. If we know we don't shoot very well when we're thinking about our feet, why would we ever do it in competition? I feel like we should let that one hang for a minute. If we can agree, and we know most people, vast majority, don't shoot very well when they're thinking about their feet. This would be intermediate to slightly advanced. Okay. Why would we ever do it in competition? Meaning, if we know we don't shoot very well when we're thinking about our feet, why would we think about our feet in competition when we want to shoot well? Because the conscious mind is great at evaluating options and making decisions. But it can't do it fast enough to have it work in shooting. Okay? And it can never do it as well as the subconscious mind anyway. Okay? All right. Defining success is the only way to achieve it. I may have talked about this on the last program. Again, I feel like I've done this show 100 times. Probably have. If I don't define success, how am I going to know when I'm successful? And if I don't know when I'm successful, where's my confidence going to come from? So confidence is past success predicting future success. If I don't know what success is, how am I going to define it? Wait, it's the same thing. If I don't know what success is, how am I going to achieve it? That's a great question to ask yourself in training. What's the definition of success? If you don't know that, you'll never be able to grow your confidence. And I just want to tell you again, guys, getting faster. It is the easiest thing in the world to do, getting faster. Establish how long it takes you to do something, put a par time on it, and then chip away at the par time. My buddy Tan from Thailand, he wants to work on backwards movement. Okay, that's great. We found him a classifier. I think it's called I Miss That Kind of Clarity. I don't remember the number. That has backwards movement. And the neat thing about that one is it has forward movement and backward movement because there's two strings. So not only can he work on his backwards movement and compare it to American grandmasters, but he can also see if his forward movement is significantly quicker. He'll learn so much from doing that. So much. And then when he goes to a stage, he'll know, oh, okay, I think it's 8 feet. If I've got 8 feet to cover and a choice between going forwards or backwards, I know which one's faster. Or he may say they're the same, so I have more confidence in my ability to do this section of the stage this way. Confidence is at least 30% of performance. And if you're not actively managing your confidence level, you're missing out on 30% of performance. Boy, that should be holy moly. We might want to call that how to add 30% to your performance, but sometimes people like negative clickbait better. How to lose 30% of your performance. Well, if you listen to this program, you already know which one we chose. We'll work on that here in a minute. All right, folks, it's been my pleasure to bring you this podcast today. If you have ideas for podcast, things you'd like me to discuss, please send me an email, steve@andersonshooting.com. I'll be happy to discuss whatever you would like me to. And please go to andersonshooting.com, upcoming classes. Get signed up for that class in Florida. We got a few spots left in that one we need to get filled up. And can't wait to see you at a class very soon. And as always, you can get a free class. All you got to do. And by the way, learning these things through the lens that I'm going to have you learn them through will save you years of struggle. Years of struggle. All right, folks, time to call it a day for the podcast. Till we meet again, be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, get to work.